Welcome to Chanel. The latest. The objective for today is to come back alive. Yevgeny is a young commando from the Mad Pack, a special forces unit that has been fighting in Bakhmut since November. His words are familiar, lacquered with that mix of emotions common to almost all soldiers fighting on the front lines of war: laughter and unease. We clamber into a land cruiser and head toward the city. The situation is always changing, he continues. But one thing remains the same: the line of contact is always active. Even by the standards of eastern Ukraine, Bakhmut is a hellscape of destruction. Electricity has been out since August and water since October. Rows of uniform Soviet-style buildings now resemble a series of ragged molars, mottled by shells and blackened with soot. The streets of this city that once had a population of 70,000 are almost empty of civilians, save for the odd elderly man or woman who ambles past amid the constant drum of nearby shelling. Everywhere I look I see soldiers, standing guard, advancing forwards, taking cover, congregating in doorways and behind walls, and almost always smoking. Our first port of call is a mosque. A small squat rectangular box that could be a normal house save for a small golden dome on its roof. Kazbek, a Chechen soldier fighting for Ukraine, who is our guide with Yevgeny, gets out of the car and goes to pray, bowing to Mecca as shells explode around us. If you want to discover the madness of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, come to Bakhmut. The battle for the city is now the longest of the war. Russia launched a large offensive to try to take it in July 2022 after it took Severodonetsk, the final major city of the Luhansk region. The truth is Russian troops are dying in their thousands here, and possibly for nothing. The UK Ministry of Defence has outlined Bakhmut's limited operational value. The city's fall would be useful, but by no means decisive, in helping Russia press further through the Donbass. The fight, therefore, has become almost symbolic. Bakhmut holds is now a rallying cry for Ukrainians. We advance further into the city. I see my first civilian vehicle, a minibus covered in grime, onto which someone has painted a white cross. Then we see an old man walking on the pavement. Yevgeny asks why he hasn't left. Where would I go? He responds. He tells me that he lives with some friends in the city and has a stove and a basement to hide in. We turn a corner, and the Land Cruiser skids across the wet and pitted road. The full contact front is just there, says Yevgeny, pointing. Kazbek explains what this means: the Russians are just 200 meters down that road. Tomorrow, I will come back and kill them. Shelling is a constant refrain in Bakhmut, but this close it's different. Shells whistle around me, deep throaty roars that crescendo to a colossal bang as they strike home. Now the Russians are attacking Ukrainian positions from 3 sides, says Kazbek by way of explanation. We climb back into the Land Cruiser and drive into what appears to be a fenced-off wasteland right by the line of contact. On a wall some graffiti reads, "The Republic of Ichkeria, Chechnya, will be free. Russians will be dead." A lone cyclist comes into view. "Stupid," says Yevgeny. We drive out into what is left of the main road, until we stop by the city's monument of a MiG-17 fighter jet. This used to be a famous Instagram spot, says my photographer Nada. I recently sprained my ankle so I am hobbling slightly, though my support boot means I can walk almost normally. I pose by the plane, resting gingerly on my foot. Kazbek laughs. I remember his words when we met. I've never seen anyone come to the front with a crutch before. Eventually, Kazbek decides it's time to return to base. There are, he excitedly explains, 2 roads to get out. The one that is constantly shelled much more interesting, so let's take that. Nata looks less than impressed. As we drive down the road, I see holes carved out by shells and burned out vehicles.